When you get into conflicts with your partner, do you feel that anger damages the relationship? Well, actually, feeling angry is normal. There's nothing wrong with experiencing this emotion. The issue is usually what you do with it. Do you deny it? Are you passive aggressive? Or do you lose control? It's not the emotion itself, but it's how we handle it that affects the relationship. Today, we're going to give you 6 tips on how to deal with anger in a healthy way. Before we get into those 6 tips, let's understand where the emotion comes from.
What do you mean where it comes from? Doesn't anger just happen?
So, anger is a secondary emotion, usually triggered by something else. A secondary emotion is an emotion fueled by primary emotions. A primary emotion is what we experience before that anger happens. Some examples of primary emotions are sad, afraid, feeling attacked, being offended, forced, trapped, or feeling pressured. When these feelings are intense, instead of expressing these emotions how they are, we as human beings express them in anger. For example, if you become hurt in some way, you may just express anger instead of the pain that you're going through. This is because it's easier for us to express anger than to express the feeling of hurt. And it's one of our defense mechanisms.
So it's kind of a way of protecting ourselves from getting hurt. Do we just do it subconsciously then?
Yes, that's right. So know that you don't need to blame yourself for feeling anger. Again, what's important is how you deal with it if you want to have a happy, healthy relationship.
Okay, so now we know where anger comes from. What do we do with it?
What you can do from here is to dig a little deeper and find out why you're angry and where it came from. Our favorite tool to help with this is the emotions wheel. We talked about this in another video. The emotions wheel is invaluable. It shows secondary emotions like anger that are easy to spot, and then it also shows primary emotions that might be causing that anger. These can be hard to figure out, so check out the link in the description and look at the emotions wheel that we have. It's also important to know that many people never learn how to deal with anger properly. You aren't taught this in school, and very rarely are you taught it at home. I know as a guy in my early 20s, I did not do a lot of inward looking on where the emotions of anger came up from. And as a result, some of my early relationships were filled with anger and resentment. So when anger arises, take a look inward and figure out what emotion came out before the anger. Talk to your partner about it. Instead of saying, "How could you talk to me that way? You're unbelievable." Try something like, "I feel belittled and sad."
Well, that honestly sounds a little bit scary to be that vulnerable.
Definitely. It is for everybody, and that's okay. Remember, anger makes your partner defensive and naturally puts up a wall. So when you're able to talk about the primary emotions with them, the conversation can get a lot better and more productive.
Okay, I mean, that's the goal, right? Every relationship has conflicts at one point, and if we could talk through it without damaging the relationship itself, that'd be great. It still sounds a little bit challenging and possibly take some time to get used to it. Is there any tips about spotting your primary emotions and talk about it?
Yes, let me share the 6 tips on how to address your anger. First is admit it. Anger is valid. There's nothing morally wrong about anger. It's simply a clue that something feels unjust or unfair to you. So give yourself permission to feel angry. Don't deny it. But on the flip side, also let your partner feel angry and give them permission and space to have that emotion themselves. Now, realize that knee-jerk reactions can be unproductive when you're already feeling angry. Learning to take a minute or two before responding can do wonders for your relationship. Number 2, express your emotions. Don't play the game of guess my mood. When you're angry, don't act all passive-aggressive or throw out cold vibes and expect your partner to read your thoughts. This one can be difficult if you've built the habit. I speak here with some level of experience. But it's important to break the habit. If someone has done or said something to upset you, express that you're angry and why.
But wouldn't expressing your anger cause more arguments?
Well, when we say express it, this means just communicate about it, not come to the conversation angry. It's all about responding instead of reacting. Simply state how you feel and the emotions that you're feeling. If you could spot the primary emotion, that's even better to communicate to your partner so that they understand where you are coming from. The other person deserves to know why there's distance between you. You can't fix something that's hidden, so don't try to push the emotions down or deny it. Now, number 3, make it a safe space. Follow ground rules and make it safe for both parties. Every conflict needs ground rules that can provide safety and structure. These could be like, we don't resort to extremes when we're addressing the situation. We don't say always or never, because these are spoken with a lot of exaggeration. Anger can make us more dramatic and irrational, and this causes us to say things that we don't mean. Be careful to stay focused on the specific action or word that upset you. Telling the person how it made you feel. Attacking the person over the behavior is not healthy or an acceptable way to communicate.
One of our rules is that we both sit down and turn off TV or set our phones down when we need to address something. We also take turns to talk about things until one person feels like they expressed and talked about everything they need to. We as a couple feel comfortable talking at home in privacy, but I know some other people who feel comfortable having difficult conversations at a cafe or something like in public. Let us know in the comments if you have any rules when you have a difficult conversations with your partner to keep it a safe place.
Number 4, ask your partner their perspective. When we're angry, our focus tends to be all on us. Am I being heard? Is my perspective understood? But remember, there are always 2 or more sides to every story. Having an attitude of listening and understanding your partner creates room for them to feel heard and validated, and also could do the same thing for you. So try not to explode with anger and attack the other person. Ask questions and give your partner the chance to respond and explain their perspective. Genuine curiosity about another person's anger is an indicator that you are handling anger in a healthy way.
Okay, what kind of questions can we ask?
You could ask questions like, how did that make you feel when this all happened? Were there certain thoughts that made you feel this way? Honestly, this might be pretty hard to do in the moment, especially if this is something that's new for you. But remember that your mutual goal is to have a happy and healthy relationship and communicate better. And this is going to be a big step towards that. Now, number 5, just breathe. Practice relaxation skills. As I mentioned earlier, anger arises as a defense mechanism when the hurt that we initially feel is almost unbearable. It's only natural for you to need some time to process when you feel such big feelings. So what you can do is give yourself some space to not feel trapped in the situation and get heated in the moment and have a negative spiral. Step away for a moment to practice mindfulness and relaxation. Try yoga or go exercise to become more mindful and better relax your mind and body. Anytime you're focusing on yourself and taking care of your own mental health, you'll probably find that you are more in control of your own anger.
Okay, well, what if I don't have time to go to yoga or I can't leave the house for some reason? Is there anything I can do when I cannot physically walk away from the situation?
Yeah, if you're not able to change the setting in that moment, you can think of anything that's calming for you. Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
The stream in the big park near our house always calms me down, so I can picture that. Also, remembering the feeling of when I give hugs to my children brings me peace.
That's perfect. Let us know down in the comments what you think of when you're trying to get in that mindset. And finally, number 6, don't discard the relationship. Nobody is perfect. Because of that, relationships can get messy, and no long-term relationship survives without forgiveness. Anger usually puts up a red flag that something is wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to walk away at the first sign of conflict. If your relationship is something worth fighting for, then work to repair it. Work hard to hear each other out, practice active listening to resolve the issue, learn from the experiences that you have in the relationship, and work to move on together with your partner. Healthy relationships need a lot of apologies and forgiveness. So the next time anger rises up inside of you, take a moment to ask yourself why you're feeling that way, and use the steps above to navigate a healthy discussion regarding it.
To get more tips on happier and healthier relationships, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. See you next time.